Hello and welcome back to Ramped Up. This is episode 5. It's also part 2 from before. So should we say episode 4.5? Actually, maybe let's not complicate it. But yeah, we're going to continue asking the questions from yesterday. Just sort of having a conversation and see where we go. We have our list of questions. We have questions that we will ask, like that we'll come up with during the episode. My name is George Blouse.
My name is Shriyashenko.
And I'm Lexi Bushnell.
I have no idea whose turn it is to answer questions.
We left on Lexi, and I think it's back to me. You, then her again, and then back.
Okay.
What role models with a disability do you know of?
Role models. I don't really have any role models.
Okay, let's not say role models, but just people you know of in the media, for example. Could be an influencer, could be an actor, could be a comedian, it could be anyone.
I don't know so many actors who are disabled. And I don't know why that is. I think part of the reason might be that people keep their disabilities hidden in the media. There are a couple of people who I have seen in documentaries. So like, what's her name? Rose Aisling Ellis. I think I pronounced that wrong. But she did a documentary for BBC recently, and that was a cool, like kind of heavy, but a really good documentary about being deaf. Rose Ailing Ellis, and the documentary is called Signs for Change. And it was a really good documentary. Actually, I've not finished watching it yet, but really powerful. Yeah, I'd encourage you to watch it.
And you say it's on the BBC, right?
Yeah, BBC iPlayer.
I should probably look at it.
I wish they would make these things international.
They really should. There are a few documentaries that have either come out or are coming out. One of them being Rosie Jones's one, which I'm also interested in watching because it is such a huge topic of discussion currently, especially was talked about during the expo that we went to. I'm just curious of the content. Yeah, it was discussed, kind of. Mainly because of the title. That's why it was discussed at the expo. I'm just curious with the content of it and like what it's about, rather than the controversiality of the title. But yeah, I also know of Adam Pearson.
Adam Pearson.
I'm so sorry for butchering his name. I don't really watch much of his stuff. He is an actor. I've only heard of him a little bit. I think mostly I know him as with his not documentary, the film he did. And I'm looking at the search, but Under the Skin, I have watched it. It's really good. That's about it, really. I don't really know him too much. I wouldn't really say a role model.
What about you, Lexi? Who would you say? Are there any disabled role models or disabled people in the media that you kind of look up to or are inspired by?
About looking up to, but definitely inspired. The first one that comes to mind is Amy Purdy. She was a snowboarding Paralympian, and she went on to she is a double amputee. She lost her legs as a little kid. I think she got meningitis, and she went on to Dancing with the Stars, and Amy Purdy is actually the person who inspired me to write Popinjay in my Draglets of Makara series. She very much inspired the character and kind of got me started in writing. Because I was thinking of how what kind of life Amy Purdy might have had growing up, and I don't know anything about her personally whatsoever. I've only seen her on the covers of magazines and on TV and such. But that did kind of inspire me to write. Now, a lot of people that I'm also thinking of are much more in the past. Like, believe it or not, like as bad as Hollywood is in the past, they actually did some things right. There was a recurring character. I don't know his name. I don't. As a kid, I was a big fan of the show Highway to Heaven, and there was a quadriplegic man uh, who was a recurring character, and throughout the series, we saw him get his law degree, we saw him get married, we saw him adopt, and that was like I don't know. That's just kind of what I grew up was watching him. I don't know his the actor's name. He has. I do know that he has since passed. Um, but that one was much more. I don't know. Kind of helped formed uh my perception of disabilities was watching his character. I'm trying to think of some more. Like in the past, there was a President Roosevelt, I think it was Franklin Roosevelt. I'll be really embarrassed if that's wrong. Who was a wheelchair user, but because there was very little photography, there was very he pretty much hid it, and and there's not a lot of pictures of him in his wheelchair. See, modern day though, like actually still alive today, I can't think of too many. I don't know celebrities. Like a lot of the ones that I really enjoy are more TV characters that people have created. Say, I don't know if uh, Spencer Reed would be on Criminal Minds would count. I don't know if he's autistically coded or something. I don't know, but a lot of them are fictional, so it's hard to come up with someone who is still alive and is still a celebrity. Besides Amy Purdy, yeah. And that's all I can think of.
Yeah, cool. I've not heard of any of those people. It's nice to know that there are at least people, I guess, that you're aware of. I think that's really important to have. It's important to have people who are in the media who influence you and, these sorts of things. People who inspire you in the media and people who are like you. I remember when I was younger, when I was about 10, there's a guy called Nick Vujicic. And he has no arms and no legs. And he's a pastor, but he's he was always really inspirational. He's very outgoing and very, he doesn't fit the stereotype of disability. Very, uh, outgoing, very willing to try anything, not let his disability hold him back, and just a good person. Um, and I think he inspired me when I was younger. I thought he was really cool.
Someone I can't believe I forgot, and I thought about him earlier, and Pete Gustin. He he is world famous. I guarantee pretty much everyone has heard his voice. He is a voice actor, and he does like movie movie promos, especially for action movies. He's got the deep voice. Um, he started going blind as a child, and now he is he's almost completely blind. He can see light and not a lot else. But he has a YouTube channel uh, called The Blind Surfer with Pete Gustin. But we don't see his face very often. But he still is. He has performed in a variety of cartoons. Um, he has been actually featured as himself, I believe, in a few animated things, and of course, the thing he's most famous for are movie promotions.
There's a question here. What daily problems do you think wheelchair users have in your town? Now this will be interesting to answer because you know, both me and Julia are wheelchair users, and so we can give a very long list. But Lexi isn't. So Lexi, what problems do you think that we have daily?
No, let's make this like a reasonable guessing game. What do you think is like the problem?
Exactly.
And we'll tell you if you're correct or kind of there.
Okay, well, I can mainly say what I have heard of what other wheelchair users have said. Carpets and rugs are the bane of their existence.
Thank you. Thank you. I love you already. Even the thinnest is a nightmare.
I will say that there are terrains worse, like sand.
Right, but the thing is, the difference between a manual wheelchair and a power wheelchair. Power wheelchair is not too bad in like sand, grass, gravel. Well, gravel depending how deep the
Sand?
gravel is. Sometimes it's alright.
Are you having a laugh? Sand is not okay.
Sometimes it's alright with the
For a power chair, I might as well be in quicksand.
maybe because I avoid like holes or staying in one spot for too long, or just keep moving.
I would have thought like my chair would sink less than yours because my legs are much shorter, so less weight. I'm smaller, but like I think I might as well be swimming in the ocean and just drown.
No,
in
it
sand.
does actually depend on what kind of sand you are referring to, because if it's the beach, yeah, you're going down. But if it's say like some kind of planter on the side of the sidewalk or something, it may not be quite as bad.
Although I will be honest, man-made beaches are a lot easier to go on because I realise they have less sand than they do. Because there's one actually that I don't remember where I went actually, but I went with my family. But they have like you can get onto the sand. It's not that deep really. Like you won't sink too far down because it's not a lot layer of sand. It's mainly like a bit of concrete with a bit of sand on top, like a makeshift kind of thing. But they label it as wheelchair accessible, which I appreciate. But yeah, it just depends what kind of sand because if it's like wet sand, that is quicksand. If it's dry sand, it's a little bit easier, I want to say.
Yeah, I just know that whatever sand it is, at the beach, my chair will sink. And Dad has
Have
to
you
come
been
to the
ever?
rescue.
Have you ever been digged out before?
Thankfully not. Well, I've been picked up. I've had my wheelchair picked up a few times.
Same thing.
Exactly. You know
Same
what?
thing.
Talking about the beach reminded me of how aware I am of my surroundings. Because you know you get like those promenades, and then you have a boat ramp to let boats go down to the sea on trailers and stuff. So I was going down one of them, but it had been poorly maintained, and there were two massive cracks. They might as well have been ravines in my eyes, but they were massive cracks, one after the other. And I look at them, and you know when you know you're in danger, your mind works really quickly. So like, I was like, okay, I'm in my manual chair. I can like do a little wheelie over the first massive crack, but if I do that, then there's no way I'm avoiding the second one. So I'm like, okay, either way, whatever happens, it's too late now. I'm going too fast to stop in time. I am going to fall out my chair. So once
How
I
is all that
realized that,
dialogue in your head?
exactly. So this is what I'm saying. I'm like hyper aware of my surroundings, and I'm used to thinking quickly because people give you no time to think. Anyway, so I'm like going down at speed, and I just let myself fall. And because I've done all of this thinking, I catch myself because I'm like, it's going to happen. You're going to need to catch yourself, unless you want to have a massive graze down your face. You are going to, and there's two elderly women behind me having a heart attack because they're like, oh, that poor little disabled child, they're falling over. Oh no. And I'm like, I knew my dad was behind me, so I'm waiting for him to pick me up because my chair landed on top of me. Um, but yeah, that's an insight into being a wheelchair user. You have to be aware of your surroundings because if you are not, people will blame you for crashing into them, even if they stop like that far in front of you. You have to stop.
Please, I can't. I don't stand people or like people that walk in front of you at the last second and you graze their ankle by accident.
Yeah,
But what I was gonna say is about the entire story. You can tell he's more of a manual chair user and he has more experience in it than me. Majority of my time has been a power chair, and I know my ways around of getting to places in my power chair instead. So as Joel might think, well, actually, Joel, you make fun of me all the time, and it's because I have like kind of anxiety and trauma from falling out my chair twice when I was a child. Why I won't go down? Oh my god, I won't go down on ledges or like get down from pavements. It's with all the what do you call it? The thing that you use to get up over steps and stuff.
I curb climber.
Yeah, I can't do those. It gives me such bad like I get scared too much with it, so I don't use it. So I literally will like Joel's like, oh come on, let's just go over this. I'm like, no, I'm finding my own way around. See you in a bit. I would literally have to find a drop down curb just to get up on it, to get onto the pavement. While
She's
this
a
guy
scaredy
decided
cat.
to jump.
Yeah,
Yeah, I am scared
I
because
reverse onto the road.
I will be honest, I have never heard the term curb climber. See, now when we're done, I got to Google that.
Yeah, I don't have it on this chair because this chair doesn't actually need one. I had one on my old chair. It's like this little Julia has. Oh, you're not in your power chair.
I'm in my manual chair, but if I do, I will go take a picture of it when I'm done.
Yeah, take a picture of it. It's a little like rubber thing.
But yeah, carpets again, nightmare. Especially if when you're in a manual wheelchair. I remember when I still lived in London. I believe the first 2 years was with this like thick white plush carpet everywhere, apart from the bathroom and the kitchen area. So me trying to get from my room to the kitchen, for example, was a nightmare. I hated it. My mum even hated it more because it was a white carpet, and you know how I use my manual wheelchair absolutely everywhere, right? So I would go through every single biome or like season or whatever. Like it would be raining. I would have mud on my wheels. We would be going out. Like we went to a beach once with my school for something. I don't remember for what. Came with a bunch of sand on my wheels. She was not happy about that either. Um, or like after I showered or like took a bath or something, and because I use a shower chair, she would have to like move that shower chair to my room to get me onto the bed. Obviously, getting the carpet soaked as well, so she was not very happy about that. Just in general, carpets are a wheelchair user's nightmare in any circumstance.
It's definitely one way to get more fit.
Oh yeah.
Carpet is like the best way to make a wheelchair user exercise. Like
Oh yeah.
that will get you so fit so quickly.
Get a treadmill. Just get a carpet.
Yeah, my carpet is definitely the equivalent of a treadmill.
Okay, what about, let's say you're on flat pavement. Uh what about like a pebble in just the right spot? Does that stop you? Like I know, like,
If you
yeah.
if you are in a manual chair, oh my goodness, yeah.
You
Well,
feel
it
every.
doesn't stop you,
Yeah,
but
you feel.
you feel it. But not only that, it changes the direction of your chair. Like the
Mhm.
tiniest pebble will suddenly take you into the road. Oh my goodness. And yeah, I feel like they do also stop your momentum, which means you have to work harder. Like it's so irritating how a pebble like that small can just like change your direction completely. And that's another reason why I am hyper aware of my surroundings.
Again, it's another reason why I get a heart attack with Joel every single time. Like he's managed, right? Picture this, Lexi. Right, he has bad hearing as it is.
I do
Imagine
not.
him with headphones
This is
crossing the road,
slander.
crossing the road when the light hasn't turned red for the drivers. He just goes.
Oh, I'm
You
lucky I'm not in America because I jaywalk all the time. But
get jaywalking. You just break every single law imaginable. I'm
I'm a
terrified.
teenager, okay? Leave me alone.
So am I. I'm the
Uh,
responsible one. Hence why, whenever we're around, and he gets close to the lights, like the crossing, the light. Oh my god, the
traffic lights.
traffic lights. That's the word I was looking for. Traffic lights. I always say to him, Joel, wait,
She
because he will
thinks I'm
not
a
wait.
dog.
No, I treat you like a child because that's what you are. You
I'm a
act like
little
a child.
child.
No, you act like one sometimes. But no, like I get such a bad heart attack when it comes to him and crossing the road. Honestly, even like when there's no lights, he doesn't even look. He just whiz down.
You don't see me look.
No, I
I
don't see
look.
you look because
I do look.
in my brain you do this like that, and you don't just.
Yeah, when I do it, I go like that. That's all I need. I don't need to spend 10 minutes looking at a road to cross.
I love how you trust your own peripheral vision that much. I would not be able to.
Yeah.
Again,
That's another thing. Hyper aware of my surroundings.
Wait, how long are you a power chair user then?
Since year 7, so 2014.
Oh damn, that's longer
Yeah.
than I am.
I thought I was a power chair user longer than you.
2017? Yeah.
Oh.
Mm.
Wow, you barely use yours.
I use it more than I do. Listen, I can barely get
Same.
out the door with this one.
Yeah, I'm in my power chair now. I'm not even going out, but I'm in my power chair now.
But when that transition happens, it's so hard to adjust. But now, if someone said to me, "Go to Central London in your manual chair," you might as well sign my life away at this point. Because I'm like, that's not happening. No
No.
thanks. What else do we? Okay, another thing about pavements. In the UK, when you have pavements, sometimes in some areas, especially in London, they use tiles, like concrete tiles, don't they, Joel?
Yeah,
They use tiles.
yeah.
Although recently they have been changing them to just flat pavement, like with none of those oh my god, those tiles.
Wait,
Or at
hang on,
least
what are you talking about? Are you talking about like cobbles? Or are you talking about the ones for bicycles?
no, I'm talking about when you go on the pavement itself. There's like
Oh, the tactile paving.
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes. I hate them with a passion because if they are accidentally cracked or not laid flat, or if there's a tree planted and the roots have grown there, making it like you can't even get over the roots. I'm just always wondering to myself, why bother putting those the those tiles there? You might as well just put solid concrete over it. Or here's a thing you should do: don't plant a tree in the middle of the pavement. There's an idea. Don't do that. Why do they do that here in the UK? Why do they
It
plant?
looks nice.
I know, but they plant the biggest trees, who then
No, they plant small trees which grow.
yeah, I don't know what they feed those trees though. It's like they get buff, grow roots, and all of a sudden you have to go over mountains. It doesn't feel that way though. It feels like a mountain. The amount of times, like me and Joel, and also you guaranteed if there's like a mountain of the roots, right? The way that you can go past them is like very narrow. So whoever's walking past has to wait. But also, me and Joel can't go at the same time. We have to go like one after the other. Otherwise, it's not gonna go well.
I'm sorry, you killed me with a mountain of trees.
Mountain of roots.
I think it's a great analogy. Fair enough. I am.
I mean, you can't imagine what a manual chair user has to do. Because if it's bad for a power chair user, what do manual chair users
Oh,
feel like?
jeez. Oh, man, Julie.
I'm sorry that is so funny, but it's the truth. I don't know how else to describe it.
Oh, we are enjoying these 2 episodes, that's for sure. With my stomach sinking into my anus.
Your milk, apparently. You can tell
Oh,
we're all adults here. This is not a child-friendly show.
no.
We're adults.
Anyone who told you that we are children, they were very right, but that does not mean we play with other children.
No, we're children, but with adult brains, apparently.
Yeah. Yes.
Or no, you're adults with children brains.
Oh yeah, there you
Yes.
go. Yep.
Yeah, we are something, and it is not known what we are.
There we go. I'm something too.
I am quite something. Whether it's good or bad, I have no idea. What else? There's so many other things about being a wheelchair user. What
I
other
feel like
things?
we've talked about the regular things all the time, like the step-free access on trains, to this, to that.
Yeah, we've done
We
them to
always
death.
talk about the same thing. What other things that we find annoying but we don't talk about?
I feel like talking about the wheelchairs could be an episode all in of itself. There's
Oh yeah, definitely.
so much.
But also, it will show how little I know about how wheelchairs work, because Joel is like the engineer, also.
I got thanked yesterday for fixing people's wheelchairs. And I was like, oh yeah, I did. Like, I carry a toolkit with me because my old chair in particular used to, like, the screws came undone all the time. So that's also part of being a wheelchair user. Like, rather than carrying well, I guess people don't carry first aid kits, but like, rather than carrying whatever average people carry, I'm not an average person, so I don't know. I carry a toolkit with me.
But here's the thing, I think because you get out of your chair and you're able to do that, you know more about your chair because you go around and like you actually look at things.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you have fun with my chair also. The amount of times he's gone off his chair and switched off the power supply of my chair. Like, it's a thing.
Have I also, like, you've driven around and I've dangled off the back of it or something?
Yeah, yeah. Imagine monkey bars.
I'm not scared of wheelchairs.
Imagine monkey bars.
Imagine a wheelchair user scared of wheelchairs. That'd be
Gosh.
ironic.
That's if the day you get scared of chairs is the day that humanity has lost all hope. Literally.
Oh boy.
Seriously, if I ever get stranded anywhere and I don't know what to do with myself, I will know who to call because he knows anything and everything about a power chair.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, wheelchair hygiene.
I know a ridiculous amount about disability. I always get like imposter syndrome and like I'm sorry for knowing so much.
No,
Like,
it comes.
I feel like if knowing about wheelchairs was a crime, MI6 and CIA would both want my head.
I'm just saying, like, it's a good thing though, to be honest, because if I'm like stuck somewhere or if someone asks me a question about my chair, I would not know how to answer them. I feel like I would have to take you to. Actually, no. I'm okay with my wheelchair service because they know me enough to know that I can't explain things too well. But when I tell them something's wrong with my engine, like the power supply,
Engine.
you know what I mean. But like the motor, whatever you want to call it, the fact that I know something's wrong because I hear a noise, I can't tell them exactly what I think is wrong. They're like, okay, we'll just take a look at it. And like, thank God you can just look at it because I won't be able to tell you what's wrong.
You just called it an engine.
Power supply, engine, motor, whatever you want.
Motor.
It's the
Engine.
same thing. I can't. It's my car, okay? I don't pay MOT on it though.
All right, let me
And I don't.
Oh my
let me
goodness.
ask you.
You literally called it an engine. I'm sorry. Anyway, moving on because that is causing me too much distress.
Okay, Lexi, next question. It's your turn now.
Well, no, I want to go back and ask one more thing regarding the wheelchairs. All right, so as any kind of equipment, and as you guys are talking, they break down. What are the most common problems that you have, or what's the most common thing that breaks or needs fixing, maintenance?
Motor, all the time. I don't know what it is with my chair.
Really?
All the time.
I only had that once when I broke down at Wimbledon, right next to on a platform. That was a interesting evening. That was one way to get stressed out.
I think the most annoying, thing they had to fix for me was the front wheels of my power chair. Now, it's not their fault. It's not the problem of them like doing the job itself. It was the order of those order of the wheels to come in to their location. Took them 7 weeks, 6, 7 weeks. So I was 6, 7 weeks unable to use my power chair and get out of the house. Thankfully, this was still when we did like hybrid learning, still in college. So I literally just emailed my teachers and like, hey, I've got a problem here. I can't do anything about it. Because this was also when everything was so far behind because of the COVID pandemic. Like waiting lists were extremely long. Even the most emergency situations still took a bit of time. I come to find out they did have them for like 2 weeks. It was just hidden away. And nobody was aware that it came in. That was the most frustrating one I've had, I think.
I am looking for an image. Oh, I can't post it on the other side. Won't let me.
What's something that you've waited the longest on, Joel?
Wait, what?
What's the longest repair that you've waited for? Like whether it was a part in or then actually fixing it?
I don't know actually. I honestly don't know. But you reminded me of when you were talking earlier. I'm sorry, I'm gonna go backwards. You reminded me when you were talking about the tactile paving for crossing. You reminded me of these tiles that I call wheel killers because they literally break your wheels, or at least they broke my wheel, and just start to get little like that. I sent a picture on Discord, and I will
Is it the
put
one
the
with? Is
image
it
of
a
the
yellow
video.
one with the bumps?
They're like strips of bumps,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
that
yeah.
makes
I know what
sense.
you're talking about.
Yeah. And they are another issue. They have literally broken my or loosened the axles on my
Ooh.
wheels before, and I had to
Oh
tighten
yeah.
them up. So that's something I've had to fix a few times. But the thing that I've had to fix a few times as well, is like the handlebars and like the armrests and stuff just coming loose over time. That's like my most common thing.
I've had my joystick disconnected before.
Mm.
That's also a frequent one that I didn't realise until it happened to me when the wheelchair service company that I'm under, when they came to fix it, because I couldn't get to the clinic, they had to come to me. They said to me, "Oh, this is a very common thing that happens," and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Seriously? Can you imagine if that
Yeah.
disconnected while you were out somewhere? God forbid if you were crossing the road, for example, because that is gonna be like the biggest scare you will ever have in your life." Thankfully, it happened right before I was about to leave, like out my front door. So I was still in my kitchen, right, with family around.
Wait, hang on. When you say your joystick disconnected, do you mean the knob or the actual like what happened?
The cord thing, the thing that
Oh,
plugs in. Does that make sense?
that disconnected. Oh wow.
I don't know. Like I think it got ripped out somehow. I don't remember how this happened at all. I don't even
Mm.
think I was doing anything with.
I'm amazed that happened because it does take some force to get it out.
I know it does, but the thing that they tell me is like it's a very common thing that happens. Makes me
Wow.
wonder what do people do to have them like ripped out or like unplugged. Like what do they do with them? Because even I don't remember what I did. It had to be like after a long, long period of time. Because it couldn't happen just on one day, just disconnected.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't remember
weird.
doing anything drastic to it. And the thing is, I do like catch on things like on chairs and things with the cord because it does sometimes come off. It's not like attached to the side of my armrest. It sticks out slightly. So to me, like I always hit it. I always catch it on something, but I never went to the point of pulling. So it made me wonder what I actually did. I still don't know to this day. Hasn't happened. Knock on wood, doesn't happen again, but still, that was scary.
The worst kind of faults are like when they're temperamental, like they're not persistent. So I've had one recently, like ongoing, where my chair thinks it's like risen up, and when that happens, the chair slows down as like a safety feature. And it also thinks it's tilted back at the same time, which means that it doesn't drive at all. And that's happened while I'm driving, and I'm not like even risen up or tilted. So that's one that I need to figure out how to fix.
The thing is, sometimes it gets to a point where you can call them up, like the wheelchair services, or when you have face-to-face appointments. Like sometimes I even mention it during my face-to-face appointments because it's easier to show them in face-to-face in real life than it is to explain it over the phone. But sometimes even they don't know what's happening or how to help you. They're like, "Oh, we'll just figure it out on your next appointment." I'm like, that's not helpful. That is not helpful at all. Okay, shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah.
I believe it's Lexi's turn to.
So the original question is, what do you think of the Paralympic Games, which means alongside the Olympic Games? So for both the summer and winter Olympics, a few weeks after the regular Olympics end are the Paralympic Games. And uh Paralympic does not mean uh like paralyzed or anything like that. The word para means besides. So it is a second entire new set of Olympics. Um, but what is featured in the Paralympic Games are adapted sports. What are your opinions on adaptive sports, and do you play any, and what ones do you know about?
Yeah, so I think we spoke about this in episode 3 when we talked about the Disability Expo. So I tried 2 different wheelchair sports. So I tried wheelchair basketball and wheelchair rugby. I was better at wheelchair rugby, and that is a club that I will try and join at some point in the nearest future. Um, and then I do powerchair football as well. So I was out with friends yesterday with my powerchair football teammates. It's the end of our season, and so we went out and celebrated and stuff. So yeah, those are the 2 sports that I do. The powerchair football isn't a Paralympic sport, but the wheelchair rugby and wheelchair basketball both are. Um, and yeah, I actually got offered to play for the national, not national team, the national league. So go up into a different team. But I couldn't. I had to turn it down because the travel would have been insane. I wouldn't have been able to do it. But yeah, those are that's a sport that I do, and then I'm interested in doing wheelchair rugby as well. I only did the taster sessions about half an hour, I think. But yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a very good sport.
And for me, it was just one time in primary school, they had someone come in who did wheelchair basketball professionally. And I think he played in like a couple of teams and stuff. So we was kind of like a taster thing. It was actually quite fun. It was entertaining seeing my classmates trying out wheelchairs. Like they could not figure out for the life of them the movement or the momentum of how to use a wheelchair. But that was kind of like the first taste of um, I guess an accessible sport. Obviously, things like tennis I did for a little bit, but not like anything like wheelchair teams or anything like that. It's just as a fun activity. Um, I don't really watch sports that much, like with the Paralympics and things like that. I do appreciate the fact that there is now more opportunities for people with different types of disabilities to do some kind of sport, and that there are adaptable ways of getting them involved. I love that as a society, and that we are able to do that. It's just not something I'm particularly interested in, to be honest.
It reminded me once we did the taster session of, I can't remember if it was handball or goalball, but we had to get around on our hands and we were blindfolded. And that was really fun actually. I enjoyed doing that.
Mm. But I think it's becoming more and more popular. I think like adaptable sports for disabled people. I know a couple of people from my university who also play, like volleyball, my god, rugby and basketball, tennis, all of those kind of things. It's just nothing I'm really interested in.
Yeah. Have you ever tried boccia?
A what?
Boccia.
What is that?
I feel like it's a sport that you would enjoy. If you had to pick a wheelchair sport, I feel like you do that one. You have a white ball on the court, and it's a bit like a beanbag kind of. And you get different. So there's 2 teams. So there's a red team and a blue team, and you have to try and get the ball of your team's color closest to the white ball, and you can hit away the opponent's balls. Um, that's probably explained really badly. I never really enjoyed it, to be honest. But yeah, that's a Paralympic sport as well.
I mean, I've been like encouraged. This is again in primary school to do dodgeball. Let me tell you, it's not a good idea.
Oh, I did
I don't know.
dodgeball recently.
I don't know what it is, but the thing is, there's a difference between playing with other disabled players, so in wheelchairs, and one disabled person in a wheelchair in a room full of able-bodied people. It brings out the demon in people, apparently. The amount of times I came out with bruises, and the thing is, nothing got broken. No bones were broken for me. Shocking, because I break my femurs quite easily. Just bruises, nothing else. But it's fun, but I don't appreciate getting like squashed and stuff. What else was I? Oh, I don't know if you were ever done this, Joe, in school either. But have you ever been tried to be involved in football, or they try to encourage you to get involved?
Not football, but they did definitely try and make me get involved with PE, but I couldn't do and refused to make it inclusive. And then wondered why I didn't turn up to PE lessons and told me off for not turning up when all I was meant to do is sit down and watch people play football. I don't know
Because
why he tried to make me do that.
there was a difference between for me. So in primary school, they tried to get me involved as much as possible, even making an effort to like make it adaptable. Like for me, if they were doing football, I feel so bad for my TAs, like teaching assistants. I feel so bad for them because they were asked, well, they had no choice really, but they were asked to push me around the playground, me with a hockey stick. I don't know why they trusted a 6-year-old hockey stick, but a hockey stick and smacking the ball around the playground from one person to the other. The amount of people's ankles I hit. And it was not the plastic ones. You'd think they'll give me a plastic hockey stick. It was a wooden hockey stick.
Oh my goodness.
So let me just say, nobody was my best friend during those games. I was not anyone's friend. But as soon as I hit secondary school, it's kind of where it stopped. Because you need, I don't know what it is, I think you need to like a paperwork signed off with one of your care providers. So for me, it was a physical therapist that had to sign off on a plan of like activities I was allowed to do. Never happened, never done that. And also, they did not take the time to like make things adaptable to me, so they just kind of left it. And I think that also played into the fact that I never made an effort to want to play anything. Mainly because I saw people's attitudes and stuff. Like, I remember they once told me I could go into the sports hall while they were playing something in the big gym that we had. I don't know what it is. When it comes to gyms, right, any game with a ball, somehow I become a target. Like, not that I get directly hit, it's just I get hit with a ball around me. It just stems the fear out of me. But while they were playing some sort of game that was very passionate game that they were playing, I was just told to sit in the corner and bounce a tennis ball off the wall. And I was like, that's such great fun, thanks.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I told them that there's no way I'm going to do that because that is the most boring
Yeah, I mean,
thing
expect you to do it week on week on week. Like, if it was for 1 week, then okay, you can tolerate it. But for like 8 weeks in a row, really?
Oh, that's very interesting listening to about your guys' personal experiences through school. I can uh, I was always made to participate in the NPE and any other kind of events. I never did any kind of sports, but I was always the last picked. I sucked at every kind of sport. A lot of bad
Mm.
memories. That anything with a ball, I was scared of the ball. Yeah.
Well, when you get chucked at your face, I did think it's very pleasant thing to do. I mean, like I even see like Joel playing rugby, and sometimes I'm like, God, if someone was chucking a ball at me like that, I would just chicken out. You do come out with bruises though, don't you, Joel?
No.
Huh?
Well, Not the way we played it, because it was a taster session. It wasn't particularly violent. I don't think you would get too badly hurt.
I mean, even sports day. I don't know if you had sports day in
Yes.
America, Alexi, or if you guys have that. Even sports days were not accessible to us. I guess to me at least. Because I don't know what it was with my secondary school, but they were very like adamant or like trying to get people to do like obstacle runs and marathon runs. What's the one, high jump? Is it how far you can
Yeah.
jump from
Oh, the long jump.
the long jump? There we go. The long jump. They also did some sort of gymnastic trampoline thing where you're meant to jump on the trampoline and land somehow on, you know, on the mat. Quite a lot of gymnastic stuff. See, this is the kind of things that I would not be able to get away with. And they were again encouraging me like, oh, come and join us for sports day, but sit on the side in the shade, because obviously this is like what, June, July,
Yeah.
where it's like the most hottest time of the year while you're still in school, and you're limited to sit there. Made me always question why I was there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to move on to a different topic?
Actually, I want to add just a few things onto the end of that topic. There are I've watched or I've tried to. I've missed the last couple. Watched the Paralympics like almost religiously for quite a few um Olympic things. And so there's a lot of sports that many people have never heard of and don't realize is um it's very much real. So for example, uh uh there's something called five-a-side and seven-a-side, which is basically blind football. And for us Americans, it's blind soccer. Where the ball basically has a bell in it, and because not everyone's blindness means being blind, everyone has to wear a blindfold. And so basically, then they do play football, soccer, uh, with all the other, I think, the same rules and whatnot. There's also one of my favorite things to watch is the skiing from the Winter Olympics, and there are kind of, you call them wheelchair skis. They're called sit skis, and there's a few different varieties. Uh, some look like a jet ski that are more for slaloms and such, and then there are others that look like a stool on a set of skis that are more for like cross country biathlon of um, type of things. Also, one of the things, and I've wanted uh, to write something kind of inspired by this, but for um for a number um of blind sports, there is both the athlete and then there is a guide right next to them, and you can see this in running, you can see it in skiing. um in running, their wrists are kind of tied together, and the blind person is doing the running, um, and the guide person is just there to keep them uh, inside their lane. And skiing downhill, slaloming in and out of gates, wearing a blindfold, and there's someone off to the side, uh, kind of giving instructions and whatnot, where to turn. It's very fascinating, and the closeness of the relationship and the level of trust that you have to have with someone is incredible. It's something I would love to write about, but I've not experienced it. but it is quite fascinating to watch. There is also uh, uh, sitting volleyball. Um, I assume for wheelchair users, which they sit on the floor and they are able to. Yep, it's a normal game of volleyball. So there,
Wow, I forgot how many sports I'd done. I remember doing that, trying that once.
there are just so many sports, and adaptive sports is something that can always be well adapted as sports become invented, as new tech is created. More of a chance for people to play is never a bad
Mhm.
thing. So yeah, there's a lot more
Yeah,
out there that we don't see.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, next topic.
Go for it, Julia.
What misunderstandings do people have about disability?
I'd like to start with that one. Um,
Hmm.
that a disability is somehow earned in some way. That is, I think it's something that comes from uh, media, perhaps the uh, I'm not sure, like the in media there's like the stereotype of the too good for the sinful earth, and it's just such a tragedy that has happened to them, or like somehow that disability is related to a moral failing, especially um when it comes to physical appearance. The more unconventional someone looks, the more society tends to look tends to think that there's something bad about them. And we might want to say, oh, that's just in the movies. It's always the person with the scar or the burns. And it's like, no, that actually does bleed into regular society, but it is a bit more subconscious of, well, that could never happen to me kind of mentality. And it is very, very wrong.
Mm. I think the stigma of like you have to be born with it to be able to have disability is often misunderstood. I think we talked about this quite a lot on the Expo episode where we kind of said that in the media people are shown these adaptations of what a disabled person is the person who is vulnerable, who's in a wheelchair, who's in a bed with an IV hooked up to them in a hospital. That's kind of what people are shown the most, and I guess that's what's ingrained in them. And now, when they do face reality, as in like an actual physical human being who is also disabled, they can't go bypass that. They think that, oh, you're not able to do a lot of things, instead of thinking about, let's see what they are able to do, and if they aren't able to do a certain thing, how can we adapt it? It's always kind of the point of they can't do it, they shouldn't bother trying.
Yeah.
Although that mentality, I think, has gotten better with now the advances in technology. People who have like amputations, they get a biometric arm, whatever you want to call it, how you call it, or
Prosthetic arm.
prosthetic arm, or if they've got prosthetic leg, or if they there are some machines that do stimulate their walking ability for people to gain some movement of their legs or their arms, or being able to communicate with their eyes if if they're not able to speak, for example. I think also the misunderstanding needs to stop from the media itself. Because for some reason, people would rather believe a movie than they would believe a person. Like when we spoke about how some influencers or people that are popping up and talking about their stories, sometimes people attack them because they think, oh, someone in a wheelchair is paralyzed from the waist down, when there are so many other reasons why someone could be in a wheelchair. It could be that they are able to walk, but just not long distances, or they are able to stand, but walking is hard, especially when it's in like a very busy area, for example. Like, I don't know what it is. It needs to change, but it's gonna take a long, long time though.
I might be able to speak to some of that. Nothing good. I promise. It comes from, so in a movie, you see kind of the entirety of the person. There, the entirety of the character. There's not a whole lot past it and whatnot. In real life, though, um, there are people who fake who might fake a disability. There are people who will fake something for attention. And so there is a lot of distrust, even when it makes absolutely no sense and is illogical. A real person with a real life and real feelings, and people automatically assume, oh, they're just doing it for attention. Oh, they're just not working hard enough. Oh, they're just not trying enough. Um,
Yeah. But also, what percentage of those? So here's the thing, right? Another thing about the media and people believing what they see on the internet. What percentage of those people who are faking it? What's the percentage of that compared to people who actually have a disability? Probably very small.
Tiny, tiny compared.
But the thing is, for some reason, people are so hooked on the people who fake it. And then once those people are exposed for faking something they shouldn't, like a disability, then those people, because it gets so blown out of proportion, I feel like, and then those people retain that information and then I guess take what they learn, whether it's good or bad, and use that to attack someone who genuinely has a disability.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of also the beauty of a beauty of the media, especially like social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, where you can mute comments, and if you don't want people to comment or spew hate, you just block them and you go on with your life, but still share your story, what you want to share. But it's also something we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be blocking comment sections just because someone thinks that because Bob has fake disability, that means Jane should also be faking a disability, even though she's been in a wheelchair since she was 13 years old and now she's 45, for example.
Yes.
Like, that's the frustrating part, I feel.
If you were able to turn on and off your disability, so not just not going on from like uh would if you could choose would you have a disability, but if you could turn on and off your disability, would you?
No.
Why not? Because I mean I feel like that would be such a cool thing. Like I don't think I would, but I feel like from a lot of people they would turn it on and off. So why wouldn't you?
From like an for myself, from an ethical point of view, I think that would be kind of seen as like a privileged thing to do. As in, for example, I can turn it off because I want to go to a concert and I want to go and stand in the main area where everyone is like having a good time jumping around, all that kind of stuff. But oh, I feel too tired, I'm going to turn on my disability and be able to park in a disabled parking spot just to be able to get to the door closer. Do you see what I mean? That kind of thing I would not be feeling good to do, like having this kind of advantage above other people. But also, on one hand, I would, because when it comes to face-to-face human interaction. I don't mean this in like social media, and I don't mean this in like a media presence. That's what I'm trying to say. Like a media presence. I mean in like actual real life people that you meet. I meet on campus, for example. I hate being talked down upon, or I don't like being like them having to accommodate me so much. Like, oh, they want to go out, but I can't. They have to rethink their plans because they have to accommodate a wheelchair user. Yes, it should be like an obvious thing, like, oh yeah, you know someone's in a wheelchair and you're inviting them somewhere, you should be thinking about it. But yet people don't, and I guess that's where I would want to turn off my disability and be able to like go to central London and be able to come back home without hassle of public transportation and getting on and off the train or getting on and off a bus or something like that. Um, but I guess that's my answer. I guess
That's a good answer. It's a very good answer.
very logical though.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting an answer like that. You took me by surprise. I think I wouldn't do it because it would be so. I feel like it'd be almost difficult to keep changing your life because my disability affects me so massively. It would be a big change either way from constantly changing one to the other. And I feel like it would actually be more stressed in trying to figure out whether to be disabled or not, you know?
In what situation would you feel stressed?
Like, like, just, I feel like I'd constantly be debating whether to be disabled or not. What was like, it's, it feels like a rubbish analogy, but I'm going to use it anyway. A bit like trying to decide what shoes to wear. I guess for Lexi more than either me or Julia. But like trying to figure out, um, what am I going to do today? What scenarios am I going to come up against today? And would it be better for me to be disabled or not? Should I pretend? Well, yeah, actually, I guess it would be pretending because if you're turning on and off your disability, then that's kind of equivalent to pretending to be disabled because you don't have to be disabled. That's a weird thought. If you can turn on and off your disability, are you really disabled?
That
Oof.
it's like a Black Mirror moment. No, what I'm trying to say is, when you say turn off your disability, do you mean? Because obviously we can have because
Like be completely able-bodied.
okay, because I was thinking like when you're thinking of like you've got 100 like well not 100 but like you've got many diagnoses that
Yeah.
word trips me up. You get what I mean. But like,
Yeah.
do you mean you just turn it off? For example, for me, like what you were thinking when you asked me that question, were you just thinking of me being able to walk but still having, I've got problems with my bowels, problems with my bladder, I have to take medication.
Oh no, I mean like completely able-bodied. Like
So
no disabilities
nothing
at
at
all.
all, even no meds, no nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Okay, yeah, but then when you think about it, if you do switch it back on, and you don't have your supplies or you don't have things that are helping you.
I mean, if you were in complete control, so obviously you wouldn't turn it off until you're ready to turn it off.
Okay, but yeah, I guess. But then it would feel like I'm an imposter to myself. Like, because as you said, it's such a big part of our identity and our lives. I don't think I would be able even to adapt myself, even if it was, for example, for a day, being able-bodied for a day. I think it will take me 24 hours just to figure out how to walk, how to do my routine as a normal person, being able to get around places. I would have to relearn everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's not gonna
I
work.
was just imagining you like walking around. Weird thought.
Bambi style. Just Bambi style. Do you know, like when you have those kids that are starting to walk and you can just see that, you know how you have your feet like this, but your feet go inwards?
Yeah.
That's what I imagine myself doing if I was able to walk. Like me just learning to walk
Yeah.
with my legs like this all the time. Yep. I have thought about it. I've had dreams where I was able to walk, but again, those things kind of stopped after a while.
Yeah.
Do you dream about yourself? Like when you dream of you being able to get around? Because for me, it was as a child, I used to, but now I don't.
I've never actually dreamt about it, I don't think. Right, maybe I have.
Or
But that
subconsciously?
wasn't like the main part of a dream. That was just like, how dreams are weird. It's just like, oh yeah, and you look over it and it's only when you wake up like, well, that was a pretty major point of the dream, but you don't realise it at the time.
Somehow, when
Um,
I'm in a dream, right, and it's myself, I don't see legs. It's just like I'm seeing myself from
I feel like most people do.
but like third person view kind of thing. Like you're seeing yourself in front of yourself, but you don't. I don't see legs. If that makes sense. I don't even see a wheelchair. I just see like from my waist up kind of situation. That was when I was a kid.
That's interesting because you don't, your feeling stops at your waist, doesn't it,
Yeah.
Claudia? So it's like your brain doesn't know your legs exist.
The thing is, I do have these like random like I had it when I was like maybe until I was in secondary school when my legs would shake. And I
Oh,
think
spasms, yeah.
yeah, spasms. I had spasms for a little while. They've stopped actually, and I don't have them anymore. But like I would have them, and I guess that was kind of a way my body knew that I still had legs. I guess the thing is, they still
Yeah.
get oxygen to them and blood flow, and they're completely fine.
Yeah.
But as you said, I think because I have no nerves and no feelings of my nerves from there, my brain just doesn't associate that bottom half of my body.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Mm.
That's really cool.
It makes me feel like
Sorry, let's see you again. Oh, sorry, Julie.
makes me feel like an X-Men.
Let's see you again say something.
Not really. I don't know about anybody else, but when I dream, I don't see faces. Like I'll see the body and I know who it is in the dream, but it is literally a big black spot for a head.
Wow.
For me, it's more like
Do
mist.
you,
Like mist.
because you're autistic, do you make eye contact? Is that something that you do?
Um,
Or feel comfortable doing?
it honestly changes from day to day. One thing I never do is, I avoid mirrors like the plague, and especially looking into my eyes in the mirror. That creeps me out so bad. But I do tend to look at people's shoulders more than their eyes. Um like we've done several of these episodes, and I was just noticing a bit earlier that Julia wears glasses. That's something that never even registered, and honestly I'll probably forget. um but yeah, facial details I don't really see, and um I don't like I don't like looking at people's eyes because I feel like I come off as aggressive, um, or that they might think that I am being aggressive or something, and it's not that
Mm.
at all. And some days it can just be natural, and I can feel like a normal person, and I have a normal conversation. But often, yeah, I'm probably looking at someone's shoulder.
I had a really good question, but I forgot it. Should we do Lexi's one instead?
Um, what three superpowers would you like to have?
Are we talking about like in terms of disability or just in general?
Just in general, what?
Instead of flying, just walking. Instead of flying, we're walking.
Oh please, I would not like to walk. Are you mad?
But like, if you, I don't know, like if you touched a a stone from outer space and you got 3 superpowers, whatever they may be, what would you like to get?
Probably one of them is like healing, but not healing as in like Jesus style, as in like getting like curing someone from a disability. That's not what I want to do. I mean, like if you get a scrape and you're bleeding, or if you got a burn, or if I don't know, you've got a red mark, or you've got a bump on your cheek or something because you touched something hot, or you got slapped in the face, for example. I would like to do that, like touch someone and be able to like heal that wound. Maybe also teleportation. As a wheelchair user, that would be damn
Oh
efficient.
my
That would
goodness.
be so efficient.
Oh yes.
They should do like portals, like to get from A to B, like without having to use transport. And then last one. I don't know. Let me think of the last one. Someone else go, because I only mentioned 2.
I don't know. I feel like teleportation is a good one.
That is.
I would steal that.
Teleporting, healing. Ooh,
I do like the healing one.
or being able to talk to animals.
Animals, really?
Yes. Because
Okay.
talking to humans is boring sometimes.
I'd be terrified of what the animals would
But like
say.
talking to humans is boring sometimes. So give me a capybara. Let me talk to a capybara for like an hour. If someone anyone wants to get me something, get me anything capybara, I would love you forever. I feel like cats would have the most sass.
They would.
Because
Yeah.
cats go off and do their own thing. Like they're like, oh yeah, pet, now leave me alone for 20 years. I'll see you later. See you next week. See you next time. See you next week.
Although, imagining.
It's either a cat can be really cuddly and loves humans, or like, give me food, pet me for 5 minutes, I'll see you next week.
That's a cat. Yep. I would. I'd actually love invisibility. Just to turn invisible whenever I.
I just heard the last part, which was that's a cat.
Oh. Yeah, to have a choice whether or not I'm invisible would.
That would be good. Like in some situation, that would be amazing.
Maybe also some kind of telekinesis where I can lift up an item and bring it to me, or like the whole Fantasia Mickey Mouse thing, have the broom sweeping the floor on its own. Yeah. The one thing I would not want is flight. Heights terrify me. It looks fun, but I'd be scared to death.
I think we've reached the end of our list of questions that we had. We only came up with a few questions ourselves, but we adapted a load because. But I enjoyed that. It's cool. I feel like it's a good team building. No, that's not what I mean. We're getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And I definitely enjoyed recording these 2 episodes. But yeah, it is the last week of July now, and so that means that we are now not going to release an episode a week because oh my goodness, that is flipping unsustainable, and I cannot do it anymore. Not without losing my absolute sanity.
And
And sleep too. I had 6 hours sleep last night, and
last night, more like
0
the
the night
day.
before, and 5 the night before. So I'm way behind on my sleep right now. And I am also, I've also kicked off a load of things off my to-do list because I was like, yeah, they're not going to get done for a month. So, I've neglected a few people. So, yeah, might need to go back to that. But we will still be releasing episodes just maybe every 2 weeks or so.
That might be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas for guests and topics. One of those being disability sport. Wheelchair football in particular, I feel like would be quite good. We're also going to try and get people on from Scope, with Disability Equality Charity, and people from WizKids.
Ooh,
So,
yes.
again, I got emailed from them like 3 weeks ago, and I completely neglected. I haven't responded yet. So,
Now, I was meant to do that for you, but then I forgot and I got distracted, and now I'm doing, again, a bunch of other things with Scope, so that's great.
yeah, I'm sure I asked Julia to do that and it didn't get done.
You
Or
did
maybe
tell
I
me, I
didn't.
did look at it, I just forgot.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's the end of our weekly episode. Thank you very, very much for joining us. It's been a privilege to be here, for you to have come to listen to us each week. And thank you for all the love you've shown us on social media and everywhere else. If you were with us at the expo, it was great to see you there. And yeah, we will be back in a few weeks. Stay, keep an eye on all of our social media for more updates about what exactly happens next. And we will see you very soon. For now, it's goodbye for me, Joel Sprouse.
Me and Julia Shenko.
And me, Lexi Bush now.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.